Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Real Life, Real Kitchen podcast, which is a little corner of the internet for mums who are curious to find out more things about family, food, and community. This week, I've got the wonderful Naomi Murray, who is a natural health expert of 30 years' experience and runs her own corner of not just the internet, but of the southeast of England called Botanica Health, a beautiful little shop where you can get all kinds of natural support for health, vitality. Naomi also offers various kind of clinics to support people who would like something to complement traditional medicine. So, Naomi, thank you very much for taking the time to come onto the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's very exciting.
Thank you. Now, I'd also like to recommend everybody to follow Naomi on Instagram. It's at botanica_health. Is that correct? Yeah, and the details are in the show notes because Naomi also does little videos that pop up on there, which are just such fantastic resources for, just improving your health and making life a bit easier. Naomi, my question to you is, how did you get into this? Why did you not just say, I'm going to be a doctor, become a GP or something of this nature? How have you stumbled into, natural health, complementary health, shall we say?
Well, I guess it began before I was even aware of it. My father at the time was not a herbalist. He always had a love of plants, though, and natural healing. And I had whooping cough as a baby.
Oh,
Treated me with a herb and some other interesting methods, which was putting Vaseline on the soles of my feet and then some sliced garlic, putting my socks on. And within half an hour, he could smell the garlic off my breath
wow.
and recovered with the help of the herbs. And it's obviously a very frightening illness, but I recovered. And I guess that was my first experience of the power of herbs. At the age of 1, my father and mother moved up to the wilds of Scotland. They were both from very busy London. My dad wanted to escape from the rat race. At the age of 45, he started his degree in herbal medicine. So he was old starting it, if you know what I mean. He's not a young person doing a degree. And but he'd had this incredible love and curiosity about the healing power of plants from his early 20s. And had his own experiences of how incredibly healing plants can be. So growing up in Scotland, in the wilds, where it's literally fields and sand dunes and forests, I grew up going out,
Oh,
collecting wonderful herbs like eyebright and dandelions and meadowsweet and all sorts of incredible things. And I didn't really appreciate at the time how unusual my childhood was. Because you always want to be like everybody else and normal. We weren't really that normal. Um, and so from the age of around 18, I began working in his very busy herbal clinic, dispensing medicine, making tinctures with him. I have wonderful memories of staring outside he had a extension on the house which looked over the North Sea, which was further on there.
beautiful.
And
So
I
you,
remember having these lovely moments where we'd be making a very strong tincture of thyme for his thyme syrup and just looking out this huge window onto the very grey and stormy but incredible North Sea. It was amazing, the smell of the thyme, and I was in this quiet space looking out at wildness, basically. So it was an incredible time of learning through my father, which his wisdom, which is continues. He's 86 now, and we have generational wisdom because of our forefathers were doctors, herbalists, and surgeons.
so you've very much got that. It's the calling. It's interesting. I see this in families. It will be things like, I came across a chap who threw in his degree, his PhD in neuroscience, to become a sourdough baker. And he later discovered that actually his forefathers, there were like 5, 6 generations of bakers in there.
Wow.
All the people I've got, it's interesting, my brother, I don't know if you'll listen to this, he should be a butcher. He loved it. And on my mother's side of the family, again, 4, 5, 6 generation of butchery. It's It's amazing how these lines come through and people have a real calling to it. Yeah.
It's in your bones. There's a lovely quote I can't quite remember about being in your bones, this ancestry of a calling.
Mm,
We didn't have any idea until about 2 years ago when someone in the family did our family tree, and going back 250 years, all the men, apart from his own father, who was an accountant, just as surgeons. I know, huge change, but it was incredible. I've got these lovely images, these black and white images of these people, and I kind of look deeply at them and imagine how they kind of lived their life then helping people. And one of them is, I think it was in 17 something, he would wave his handkerchief when he came out of his surgery for his pony and trap to come. There's a love
amazing.
story about him. So I do think some things are actually in your bones, and you have this reverence and love for something that is just deep within you.
Yeah. Yep. And I mean, and what a privilege and a blessing to be able, growing up, to have the space to listen to that and
Mhm.
for that to be encouraged and honed, because it sounds like you've had a real apprenticeship, like
Exactly.
old school, almost medieval apprenticeship. It's and beautiful. And also, I mean, that stretch in that north part of Scotland overlooking Orkney, that's, I mean, this is where all the, I'm thinking of all the kind of hermit monks were going to these kind of interesting spaces where the sky meets the sea meets the land, and it's this real liminal holy space. Really interesting, Naomi. Really interesting. Can I come back to the garlic?
Mm.
How does that work? Because I'm aware that with feet, you've got reflexology, you've got these kind of pressure points. The soles of the feet seem to be sort of an interesting absorbent space.
They are. They seem to be an amazing
What's different?
tool. I just think it's so strong, incredibly. I mean, obviously, it's very antibacterial,
Hmm.
incredibly great for viruses and infections. And I think that it just sticks through the soles of the feet and went into the bloodstream and very quickly got to the lung somehow, and you could smell it from my breath. It's very I know that even when you eat garlic, sometimes you can smell it on your skin.
Mm, mm, mm.
It's
And
such an old famous remedy, garlic, isn't it? It was used for giving to soldiers when they had, I think when they ran out of antibiotics in the Second World War, I'm sure they used to use it for infections. We had these incredible remedies at our fingertips that we've kind of, people are beginning to go back to them now, but we've lost somewhere along the way.
so what, and I'm going to presume that a lot of this knowledge, this has come with generations of just observation, trial and error. When is the best time to kind of pick, for example, your wild garlic and to do things with it, and what's the best, most effective process? That's that's a lot of anecdotal evidence over generations.
Yes. Mm.
Yeah, yeah, and a lot of, again, conversations between people saying, "I've tried this, you've tried that. Has this worked? Has this not?"
Yeah. And I actually find anecdotal sometimes is the most powerful,
Mm,
and actually, if you look back at Culpeper, hundreds of years ago who treated, people with herbs. Like, it's similar now, but we've learnt more. And anecdotal, even for me to this day, is so useful when I have patients coming in the shop and they teach me something or I look something up. And there's a really interesting website, it's called earthclinic.com, and it was originally started for people who found the incredible benefits from apple cider vinegar.
mhm. Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, so it started from this, and there are all sorts of amazing remedies, um, things found from using apple cider vinegar, but it's actually branched out now to other things. You go in there and you can put in an ailment, for instance, and the incredible anecdotal stories from people that have used certain things to cure certain things. It's so we have to be open-minded.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have to
That's the thing. It's the curiosity, isn't it? And going, maybe there are other ways. I'm not knocking kind of mainstream medicine at all, because we need the doctors when we have a broken leg or I don't know, an exploded appendix. All of these. This is the kind of medicine we need. But there just sort of seem to be a lot of kind of pills and potions that act as sticking plasters. They seem to have quite a lot of side effects, and you go, oh, I don't know. So it's wonderful to hear that people are exploring kind of other options to support their immune system or struggles that they're having. This is wonderful that that curiosity is on the rise. Can you talk to me? Apple cider vinegar. I mean, I read somewhere it's fantastic for verrucas. Not,
The
yeah.
thing is, and also amazing for something called plantar fasciitis that people often complain about. If you not only drink it, but you soak your feet in a basin with warm water and apple cider vinegar. So it can be amazing for people with digestive issues. Start the day with a little shot of apple cider vinegar and a small bit of warm water. Some people find it amazing for things like arthritis.
Yeah.
Uh, it can be incredible for people who've got low stomach acid and find it hard to digest foods. I'm sure there's something really interesting about children who are really fussy eaters as well. It can really help.
Oh, oh,
Um, but I mean, I actually personally just use it in salad dressings. I'm not massively keen on the taste of it in water, but some people absolutely love the taste of it. And it's got the mother, the raw one.
yeah.
But
Yeah. I think
and
that probably falls into the same category. The people who love like a seriously sharp sauerkraut, that kind of real tang. That's going to tick a lot of those boxes.
yeah, but I mean, it's incredible. And there's other amazing studies where it's been used for something called oh my goodness, there's or perioral dermatitis. Perioral dermatitis is when you get this very strange rash, mainly around the mouth.
Yeah.
It's very, very hard to get rid of. So actually, Earth Clinic says amazing reports from people using some diluted apple cider vinegar, which will sting for a bit, but then perioral or oral dermatitis can be around the mouth, it can be around the eyes, or on the nose. It's actually very common and can be caused by all sorts of things like fluoride toothpaste, antibiotics, whitening toothpaste, hormone stress. So that's just one remedy that you can use for this very tricky skin condition, which can take
So
months.
but this skin is different to eczema. What
Oh,
is
it's
the
very
difference?
different. It
Yeah.
looks like a pimply rash, can be very itchy and red and raised bumps. You can Google it when I've finished, but it's very interesting. But seems to happen mainly in women, teenagers, and it's very stubborn. But you can use things like apple cider vinegar. A tea tree cream can be really, really useful. Dropping all fluoride toothpaste, whitening toothpaste, even using shampoo with sodium lauryl sulfate seems to make it worse because obviously that goes to the face. But yeah, there's amazing remedies in our cupboards that we can use.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's just it is incredible. It is incredible actually the things we have at our fingertips that we don't even
So,
realize can be so.
even think about teas, very simple. So chamomile tea, amazing for IBS,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing for anxiety, amazing for sleep. It's a bitter tonic. It's probably one of the best remedies for bloating but also helps with the mind and worry. And then peppermint tea is one of the best things for IBS and for bloating, pain. So these are all just teas. Fennel tea for digestion and bringing in a good milk supply if you're breastfeeding.
Yeah.
All these wonderful garlic. And the key with garlic is for the allicin, which comes out when you crush garlic. You have to crush garlic and leave it for a few moments for that active component to come out, which is then very antibacterial, antiviral, antimicrobial.
Mm.
Incredible.
I've got actually floating around on my YouTube channel somewhere about 3-4 years ago. I started doing cooking and recipes on there and then got distracted. But one of the things I did get on there was a honey and garlic lemonade. So again,
Lovely.
crushed the garlic in the boiling water and you steep it and you add some raw honey and then the lemon in there and then the children just drink it. It's got that little bit of kind of a spice pepperiness to it, but the sweetness with the honey and then it's just fantastic. Just fantastic. Yeah. Okay, so the allicin is when you actually crush it because a lot of people will just kind of start chopping it straight away in order to cook with it and things. But like,
Yeah.
I rem I remember speaking to a lady from Calabria years ago, and she was very like, "No, you have to crush it and you leave it for 15 minutes," and was quite firm about this, and I thought, "Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna trust the slightly
Just
terrifying." Yeah,
she's right about that. You have to leave it, and it has to be damaged. You have to damage that cell wall. So, it's a really good tip to know because generally, because 'cause we're all rushing, so I now try and be mindful about when I'm preparing food, I crush that and leave it for a bit
yeah, yeah,
before,
so
Dinner's burning, the washing's multiplying, and someone's crying. It could even be you. If your evenings feel like survival mode, the Command the Chaos Mum Life Management Planner is your first gentle step back to calm. It's a printable 80-page guide and planner to help you reset your routines and breathe again without needing to become someone else entirely. Start your reset today. The link's in the show notes.
I mean, what are the one of the things I am very interested in, and I have a lot on my website and my digital products, is actually just how important food cooked from scratch is, the differences that can make in health. Could you, from your years of experience, what have been some of the most dramatic changes you've seen when people have just improved the quality of the food that they're eating?
well, do you know what? Because 'Cause I've been in this for so long, I've seen and experienced a lot of things. I mean, I was brought up vegetarian mainly, whether right or not, I'm not sure now. But I think it's not just about what we consume, but it can also be about what we avoid because some people think they're having a great diet, but they're eating things that cause a lot of inflammation, like overdoing things like nuts and seeds and pulses that create wind and indigestion. And I think something very important that people must remember is how you digest your food. You want to have food that you feel good after, that you don't have a bloated tummy, you're not swollen, you're not windy, you're not in pain. And I more and more actually, Zoe, say to people, go back to how your grandparents ate.
Mm.
Eating easy to digest foods, good quality meat, good quality vegetables. And of course, in the olden days, they would have eaten more meat on the bone. And with that you benefits of the gelatin in there because little meat's very hard to digest. But if you have meat on the bone, which is why it's great to boil up your chicken bones when you have a roast chicken. I mean, collagen became very famous over the last sort of 5 years, but really our ancestors were doing that all along. Things our ancestors were doing and now like they were eating butter.
Yeah,
They
yeah.
weren't having margarine, they were having meat on the bone and using the whole um chicken, so roasting the meat, using the meat and then using those bones to make a wonderful stock. So I think we need to get back to eating more, I'd say basic foods, but foods cooked from scratch, not ignoring signs that we can't digest food. So if you find that eating a lot of broccoli and cabbage causes wind and bloating, don't have them for a while. It's also very important that you have enough stomach acid because when our stomach acid is low, which by the way is incredibly common, although they talk about indigestion being high stomach acid, it's actually really mainly low stomach acid. And what happens is this valve, which is pH sensitive, if there isn't enough stomach acid, it stays sort of compromised, and so food will come up. But
Mm.
it's about
What what's causing that? Why is the stomach acid amongst so many people so much lower now?
I think it's stress.
Yeah.
I think it's a mixture of we live in a crazy fast life. Often people don't sit down and eat in peace, so they don't sit around the dinner table like we used to do. There's TVs on, people are looking at their phones. Eating around a table used to be a time when the family got together and we'd talk and we would just digest the day and eat in peace. Now it's not so much that. And it was a time of healing in all sorts of ways. So I think we live in a fast paced world where we don't allow time to eat and digest. We're rushing. We should never eat when we're upset. So it's not just about the food. And obviously the food matters a lot, but it's how we're digesting that food. Are we allowing time to sit and eat in peace? And I think it's also very good, like we used to do, which was to have even just a 15-minute walk after eating. Sugar help digestion. So I think there's a few things that really help with food. Good quality.
Yeah, I was just going to say, these are quite simple interventions, but simple changes that you can make. Sort of
Yeah.
really quite intentional. We sit down, try our best to have a quiet dinner. Um, I suppose one of the tips I just want to give, because I'm sure there are going to be loads of mums who go, "Oh my gosh, it's crazy at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock when I'm trying to feed the children on a weekday. It's bonkers, blah blah blah." Which, yes, that is bonkers. But I suppose my suggestion would be, how about you have it at 4:30, as soon as the children come back from school? Have it as early, your big meal sitting together as early in the day as you can, so that there is more of that
I
peace.
totally understand that. I mean, my daughter's got a little girl of just over a year, and I know she finds eating times really stressful. So she basically
Mm,
feeds the little one, and they have dinner afterwards. She's in bed, and it's still a bit later than it should be. But I just think all these things. If you think your digestion feels so ramped up when you're stressed, and then what happens is if you're living in constant fight or flight, digestion out the window. And if you can't digest food, you're not able to take on those nutrients as well. They're not able to be utilized and well, because basically your body's trying to keep you out of that stress mode, and all the circulation leaves this incredible area. So I think it's very common to have low stomach acid, and one way of helping that is to start the day with that little shot of apple cider vinegar with warm water. See more bitter foods like they do in other countries, where they just start their meal with a bitter, well, they're called Swedish bitters. So you can start incorporating more bitter foods into your diet, good quality coffee.
yeah. Things
For
like
me,
olives as well. Olives are fantastic for that kind of sort
olives, and
of,
they're
yeah.
fermented if you get good ones. Right now, with dandelions coming out, adding a few dandelion leaves, greens to your salad. Artichokes, all those things that are bitter are so good to have before your meal to aid digestion.
Yeah, and this is, again, it makes me think of this Calabrian woman, because this is all the stuff that you would have as your antipasta. That's what you would have before you're kind of cooked.
Exactly.
With the nibble, or your dry white wine, which starts that kind of process as well. Yeah, it's interesting. I sort of reflect a bit on my time in Italy, but there was a real ritual, but quite precision about what you would have at particular points in the meal. So, for example, at the end of the meal, after you've had your sweet, you have like a digestivo, the digestive shot
Digestive.
of something,
Yeah,
and that's often going to be something quite
wonderful.
herbal. That yeah,
Cardamom or like that.
yeah, yeah, that cuts through what you've eaten and just calms everything.
Or
It's and then coming back to the family all together, having the meals, blah blah blah. It's yeah, very very powerful.
we
Why have
actually
we
back to those they are rituals. We need to get back, like in China, their ritual is to gather around and have, when we lived at home in Scotland, we were around this huge table. It was made from an old boat actually in Orkney, and it had an amazing sort of presence about this huge table. And then after the meal, my father would always make a pot of oolong tea, into green tea. It's lovely and it aids digestion. It became a ritual. There's something really sort of ritualistic about this whole thing, but it felt very good. And I know it's really hard with living like that we do. But if we just do that one thing, imagine the difference it could make. We decide that we make a mealtime as a family a special time, almost holy time, really, because we've always gathered round tables for all sorts of things, for food, for prayer, to comfort one another, to talk things over. And we maybe just need to bring that back in as a habit. No, this is sacred, and we're going to do this.
and also as families really very much saying this is a non-negotiable. This is a point in the day that we come together.
Hmm.
Because I know it's very easy to say, oh, but there's football practice, oh, but there's this activity, oh, but there's this, which can, these kind of external pressures that take little nibbles and then bigger bites out of family life.
True.
And then obviously there's the kind of the financial pressures, a lot of people working and things like that. But incorporating, even if it's kind of a breakfast, it might not necessarily be in the evening, it might be in the morning that you have this time that you're saying, no, this is a precious time, 10 minutes minimum. This is what we are as a family together. Hugely important. Hugely important. I'm going to compare and contrast between my beautiful idealized image of Italy, which I know is increasingly modern, but there's still elements of this food culture and this family culture there. How have we lost this in the Anglo-Saxon world? I think about Britain, this isn't a thing. America, not so much. What's happened? Why have we lost this?
Maybe people just don't realize how important it is.
Mm,
I think we other priorities come in, like you just said. Like we were only allowed as children to have dinner on our laps on a Saturday night. We were watching some silly Saturday night program. But apart from that, my mother was really strict about that time together. We all sat down together and it was non-negotiable. But now I also think we let things slip as well. And as you say, when we let one thing slip, something else slips. But actually, these are fundamental to family life. They're more important than people realize. I think they can bring a family closer together, for sure. And yes, maybe there's some strictness has to come in, and we have to say no more, and we have to, you know, maybe annoy the children for a while. But my children have left home now. They're 30, both of them. But there's nothing I love more than when they come round and we all sit around the table
mm,
together. There's
yeah,
something incredibly healing about that, incredibly beneficial for all of us, and also having the time to cook a meal lovingly, without rushing, deciding, well, on a Saturday or a Sunday, let's just say you can't do it every day because I know things are not
life.
perfect. It can be very difficult. But maybe just choosing a day, like they did in the old days, you'd all sit together for lunch and have a Sunday lunch together.
Yeah, yeah,
And it was long and protracted. And before you knew it, it was 3 o'clock. There were times around my kitchen table in Scotland where my mother would invite friends and we'd sit just discussing things for hours, and before you knew it was dinner time.
yeah, yeah.
It was
And then
starting at lunchtime, and it was wonderful. I think we just have to make choices.
yeah,
We have to
yeah,
decide that we're going to do something and
yeah.
stick with it.
Yeah, and act on it, even though there will be arguments and fighting and, as you say, I don't want to do this. But actually, as mothers, as the parents, we are the ones who set the culture of our family.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, hugely important. And coming back to the Sunday roast, which I love, because the wonderful thing about that is you can, the opportunity for sort of leftovers is quite incredible. I'm thinking, for example, if you've got a roast leg of lamb or something, then you stew it with the bone in it. And it, again, you're getting sort of like a secondary meal with all the collagen and all the flavors coming out. And actually, coming back to your point about cooking like our grandmothers, one of the easy ways for those who are listening, if you are making something like if you are going to be cooking with chicken, you do chicken size, or you throw literally kind of a marrow bone in with whatever stew or soup you're cooking, let it sit, and then that can release so much of the goodness into it. So it's just kind of easy, easy, easy. So,
Easy.
so got a question, because certainly in Britain, it's not quite as easy as it used to be to get an appointment to see the GP. And I know various mothers who will be, child is unwell, they're not quite sure how to assess if this is an important thing or just a sniffle. What kind of tips could you give some of these mums to empower them to take on the health? Oh, I'm not using the phrase right, but to improve the health of their children. What are sort of easy tips that they could implement into their lives, their children's lives, that would make a difference?
Well, there's actually quite a lot of simple, free ways to do that. I think children should be allowed to get dirty.
Mm-hmm.
Like I did in Scotland. We were always at the farm or in the mud making mud pies from docking leaves and mud. Um, I think that helps build immunity, and there's incredible benefits from getting your hands in the soil. These microbes go through and have an amazing positive impact on your immune system. So let your children get dirty. Let them play outside in as much daylight as possible, which also is incredible for their health. It helps the circadian rhythm. It will help them sleep better at night. It improves immunity. So being out early in the morning, walking to school, walking back from school, spending time out. I was outside all day long when I lived in Scotland, all day long in all sorts of weathers, making sure they have a peaceful, good bedtime routine. If they don't sleep well, consider giving them the old-fashioned good quality milk and honey.
Yeah, lovely.
Californian poppy if they have nightmares or anxiety, which is incredibly good. It's also very good for bedwetting, by the way. Cali
So the California poppy, how is that
It's a little taste.
implemented?
You have a few drops and a little bit of apple juice, and it works very well, and it's very safe.
What's in it that calms the anxiety and the night terrors?
It's a wonderful nervine, but I found that, it also maybe it works through the vagus nerve, but it's amazing for bedwetting as well.
Wow.
Amazing for children that have a nervous tummy or they can't switch off at nighttime. I even remember giving it to, a man who was in his late 90s. He had agoraphobia, and it worked beautifully for him.
Wow.
So it
That's
has
so
wonderful multifactorial, but I love going back to the old-fashioned remedies of milk and honey. So soothing. If you think milk is full of magnesium and calcium, which are known as the relaxation minerals, you add a bit of honey, which takes down the cortisol, and you've got this lovely, horrific, sleepy drink.
yeah, yeah. And then with the, question about because I will sometimes have a hot cocoa with
Mhm.
my honey, with my milk, but there's
Yeah.
something in the chocolate as well with the cacao. I'm trying to remember my brain. Or is that gonna be more of a stimulant and I shouldn't be having the
It
cocoa?
can be too stimulating for some people, but I always say to mums, put a little bit of hot chocolate in there, do that. To wheat, but obviously dark chocolate, things like that can keep you awake and are too stimulating. But when I s grandmothers, we'd always have Ovaltine or something like that. It isn't so nice now because 'cause it's got vegetable oils in it, but I remember loving it. It was part of again, it was a ritual thing at 7 o'clock to have this, and I loved it. So sleep's very important for children's immune system. Sleep. Removing, I think, is very important if your child complains of lots of sore tummies, that you have to remove the irritant, and it can be all manner of things. It could be bread. Some children overdose on things like pasta and bread, and they say they've got a sore tummy all the time, but you have to look at that and really try and be a detective and remove those irritating foods.
Can I have 5 minutes and you can come back?
Well,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah, often meet children who are maybe pale or they're dark under the eyes, and for me, that's always a sign of a digestive issue. Make sure you listen to them when they say they've got a sore tummy. I don't think it's great to always start the day on a grain cereal breakfast for all sorts of reasons. My dad always used to say that cereals were dead food, which is quite interesting. That
Yeah.
was his dead
Yeah.
food. So
Yeah.
if there's some things like eggs or even sourdough with good quality butter, eggs with protein in there, or even eggs with a glass of good quality orange juice, which is a carbohydrate. So they've got protein and fat and carbohydrate to start the day rather than on these fast cereals, which drop you like a stone very quickly and
And I
leave
know.
you irritated.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that a huge change with my children when I started introducing omelets, eggs for breakfast. That is a fundamental. Um, and just kind of the changes in behavior. There was much more calmness. They could kind of push on for much longer throughout the mornings. It was
Children
quite,
need energy. They
yeah,
need energy to cope with school.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and, stuff that's gonna help them concentrate and think clearly.
yeah.
Um, there's actually a lovely, girl that I know, she's formulated a wonderful rosemary balm, which I'll talk about another day, but they found that just sniffing rosemary, studies have found it helps children concentrate and do their exams better. Just
Wow.
smelling the rosemary. I mean, we've got that we all have this growing in our gardens,
Yeah.
incredible for children.
Yeah, that is amazing. And this is all just such easy stuff that we can access. It's small changes within a family's um daily rhythm, things you can just get from the supermarket round the corner, and that can really, really transform people's lives. It's incredible.
For their immune systems, my favorite remedies for children are elderberry and, of course, elderflower during the summer months when June comes, we can start collecting that, making an elderberry cordial, which can be amazing for fevers, summer irritants like hay fever, stuffed up nose, itchy eye. So elderflower is wonderful for summer allergies, and the berries which come at, I always say, just the right time. Potent antiviral. You can make your own elderberry syrup so easily. I have a recipe on my website, and that you can give to your children a little dose every single day during the winter months as a preventative. But they've also found that when you take elderberry, when you have an active virus, actually lessens the viral load, so it makes the virus less strong and it reduces the length of time. So
Wow.
do that along with vitamin C, zinc for children, good quality zinc. Um, I think there are very simple ways to keep children's immune system strong, keeping stress low.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
So
children get stressed these days.
they do, because there's so much, and with school being so busy, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot more screens and things like that. But it's about being intentional, isn't it? Really is about being intentional, creating these calm spaces. And again, as mothers, as parents, we are the ones who are able to do that.
Yeah,
And
even if it's a battle, and it is a battle sometimes, but we have to do it. I remember I used to have my children have a story every bedtime. I was incredibly strict with their bedtime routine because I just knew that sleep is so healing. You need a child to sleep well, to wake up refreshed. So it's parents have a tough time, tougher than we ever had, I think, because of all the other distractions. But there's some stoicism has to come in here, and some stickability and
yeah.
strictness balanced with love, you know?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, very true indeed. Very true indeed. Naomi, this has just been fantastic. Thank you. There's been so many, so much to think about, but also so many wonderful and easy changes that mums can make into their family lives. I think it's been very important conversation. Thank you so much for your time. Um, I would like to, where can people find you? I think I said at the beginning your Instagram account. Where else?
Well, we have a website, which is botanicahealth.co.uk, and my Instagram account. Yeah, I do mainly my work on there these days.
Mhm. Okay. I will put all the links in the show notes so everybody can go down and have a look and click through. And I would like to say to all the listeners, please like, share, subscribe, get the word out. And thank you for your ongoing support. Naomi, thank you. That has just been fantastic. God bless you. Thank you. Ping. Stopping.
Love the podcast and want to help keep the kettle on? You can support the show. Think of it like buying me a cup of tea or helping cover the cost of the biscuits. You'll find the link in the show notes. Thank you for keeping this kitchen conversation going.